Well, hey class, happy Tuesday to you all. So excited to be joining together with you as we take a look at church history too, as we get together and we study the Christian church from the Reformation to the present day. So we're going to be looking at church history developments from about 1517 onward. So I had several of you, several of you for Church History 1 online. We did that 2 terms ago and really enjoyed doing that with you all. And so looking forward to being able to delve in and examine kind of the second half. So with that said, we'll start by just kind of going over the syllabus and then kind of setting weekly expectations. So um, in terms of weekly expectations, each Monday, the next lesson will open up. So there will be a video for you to watch, and there will be my lecture notes along with it. So you can have those as you watch the video, kind of make your own notes, do whatever you want with those. And so, along with that, there's a discussion post each week. The discussion post is due by the Sunday night of the upcoming week. So, this is week 1. So, your discussion post for this week, off the lecture and off the weekly readings, is due by this coming Sunday. Week 2 starts this coming Monday. The discussion post is due by the following Sunday. And so to get full credit, you do have to have an initial comment and a reply. If you only do one, you'll get half credit. And both of those have to be done by that Sunday night. No exceptions, no extending because you have a full week to do it. So if you don't have it done by that Sunday night, then Monday you'll get a 0 on it. So going to the syllabus then, and that's kind of it in terms of weekly expectations. Make sure you watch the videos, you participate on the discussion boards, and then just turn in the assignments as they're due according to the syllabus. So in looking at the syllabus and looking at the course description, like I said, this is a survey of the Christian church from the Reformation to present day. So again, like I said, about 1517 onward. Your required textbooks are The Valley of Vision by Arthur Bennett, or he's the editor for them, and The Story of Christianity, Volume 2 by Gusto Gonzalez. And so The Valley of Vision, you'll use that for completing weekly journal entries, and we'll discuss those here in a few minutes. Your primary textbook, though, is The Story of Christianity. So for those who didn't have me for Church History 1 yet, I really like this textbook because it's very readable, it's very understandable, and he's truly telling a story of Christianity. So he takes all the facts and the figures of church history and puts it more in a story, if you will, rather than a typical history textbook where it's just a bunch of random facts and dates and stuff like that. So this textbook can be a little confusing at times because he may mention something in chapter 1 but doesn't explain what he mentions until chapter 2. So there are times when it may get a little questionable like that, and you think, have we covered this yet? Sometimes not. But overall, I think this is a good book to use because it is so readable. It is very understandable. And he's just telling us the story. So looking at the course objectives, so upon completing this class, successfully completing this class, you'll be able to recall key figures and dates from church history. So while we are covering big ideas and major topics, major ideas of church history, during this time frame, you will need to know and be able to point out who some of those key figures are. You'll be able to pick up on who those are. Number 2, explain and summarize the contributions of those key figures to the church. And so, as you'll see later on, you'll have some biographical journal entries, not journal entries, biographical papers due. And so, in that, you're explaining what those contributions are to those key figures. You'll need to be able to identify major events and themes that help mold the church to where it is today. And so as we, for example, looking at our current American evangelical context, there are lots of things that happened in the 20th century that brought us to where the church is today. So being able to analyze and identify what some of those events were would be key. You'll want to be able to analyze and interpret primary sources from the time of the Reformation until today. And so part of that will be that Valley of Vision book. And like I said, we'll explain that when we get to the journal entries assignments. And then understand lessons from the history of the church related to its mission and theological orthodoxy. All right, so to look at how we're going to evaluate whether or not you have successfully completed those objectives, one of those means will be through exams. And so you'll have 2 exams, one more towards the midterm and one towards the final, and which will be given, and those dates are in the syllabus. You should also be able to see the dates in Populi as well. They're going to cover the material for both lectures and the assigned reading. So with that said, the lectures and the assigned reading go hand in hand. The book is going to cover things that I don't cover, and I'm going to cover things the book doesn't cover. And it's necessary to do that way because we do have 500 years to cover in a relatively short amount of time. So I'll be covering some things, the textbook will be covering some things, and your exams are going to be testing you on both of those. So be sure to keep up with the reading. Be sure to keep up with the videos. The exams will be composed of objective and subjective questions. So typically you'll have an essay question on each exam, and I'll give that out about a week before to give you time to prepare. On exam days, we're not going to meet. There won't be a discussion posted due on top of the exam or anything like that. You'll just have the exam for the week. And exams are open note and book. So with that said, I do provide my lecture notes. If you want to use those on the exams, you're welcome to. If you want to use your textbook on the exam, you're welcome to. No Google searches, no texting friends, no anything like that. But I will give you the option to be able to use your notes and your book. Now, with that said, there is a disclaimer that just because you can use your notes and book doesn't mean the exam will be easy. I'm not going to make it any intentionally harder because you can use those resources, but there is this mindset that, I can just use my book. I don't have to study. Don't do that. That would be a very bad decision for your part. So be sure to study for it, but just know that you are able to use your note and book on the exam. And so that's kind of it in terms of the exams. Don't try and trick you up. I'm not a big fan of trick questions or anything like that. But just want to make sure you are prepared for that. So the second way we'll analyze this is through biographical sketches. And so these are brief biological papers on central figures of church history. Each paper has to be 2 full pages in length. If you send me something that's a page and a half, you'll get deducted for it. Okay, we want 2 full pages here. Okay, double space, 12-point Times New Roman, typical stuff for using Turabian. But the key point is there is make sure that it is 2 full pages. There will be a total of 4 papers, so there's going to be 4 people we're going to analyze and examine, and those are on the schedule at the end of the syllabus. And what you want to do here is be sure that you identify the contributions of each person to the church. Okay, and so with that said, I want you to make sure that if I was to read the paper and you were to never mention that person's name, that I would know who you're talking about. Okay, so if you write a paper, on Martin Luther, and you talk about, he was born in Germany and he liked pizza and he lived for 20 years and his favorite color was blue, that doesn't help me at all. That's not a biographical sketch. That doesn't identify that person at all. That doesn't. All those things may be true of Martin Luther, but none of that identifies Martin Luther because there are thousands of people who were born in Germany, who lived in a certain town for 20 years, who likes pizza, and whose favorite color is blue. So to put only that kind of information in this paper would be unhelpful and would not help you earn a good grade. So things related to Martin Luther that you want to include is things like his 95 Theses they had posted, and going on and establishing some of his accomplishments like that. So when you do these papers, be thinking of the big picture. Be thinking of how, can someone read that and know who I was talking about if I never mentioned their name? Okay, only one person has nailed the 95 Theses, okay? And we all know that's Martin Luther. So that's an example of what, I would be looking for in those papers. Now, on that kind of biographical information, yes, that's necessary. Yes, that's important. But that doesn't need to be the bulk of your paper. So that's it in terms of biographical sketches. Not hard, not looking for anything overly difficult. I do note that you need to use at least one source outside of your textbook in your bibliography. So, a good encyclopedia, church history encyclopedia, something like that would be a great resource to start with as you begin to delve and to think through who these people are. Also note on that, something that I've seen, it's a 2-page paper. I've seen people put, 10 direct quotes in a 2-page paper. And just so you'll know, that's not really acceptable in just a 2-page paper. It's 2 pages for a reason. I want you to go read the material and then report the material. If you're copying and pasting chunks and long sentences from your source, that's not really you writing the paper. That's just you copying and pasting. So, if you're having direct quotations, no more than 2 would be okay for this kind of paper, just due to its length and the nature of the assignment. So that's it on the biographical sketches. Next, looking at the journal. So there are weekly journal entries based off the Valley of Vision. And I'm going to grab my copy real quick. So this is my copy of the Valley of Vision. You can buy this copy. There's a green hardback copy or softback copy that you can buy as well. That's a little bit cheaper. But this book is a book of Puritan prayers and devotions. Okay? And if you look at the table of contents, you'll see that there are 10 different sections. So, section 1 is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Section 2 is redemption and reconciliation, so on and so forth. So there are a total of 10 sections. And so you're to read at least 3 of these prayers a week and just journal your thoughts on them. Keep a journal of your thoughts and the theology that you see present in each prayer. And each one should be about 250 words. And this is something that's due weekly. So, typically they line up with our weeks that we are studying together. Not always. So this is week 1, but I'm not going to make it due till next Monday because we haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. So next Monday or this coming Monday, you have an assignment due for journal entry for week 1 and week 2. So with that said, you'll turn in 2 separate documents. You're going to read 3 prayers and devotions from section 1 and write a 250 word journal on it. And then you'll do the same for week 2. So look at section 2 and pick out 3 journal entries or pick out 3 devotions and journal 250 words total. And so that's important to know. It's 250 words total. It's not 250 words on each prayer. Just each week, each section is a journal of 250 words. So this coming Monday, you'll have 250 words due on section 1 and 250 words due on section 2 in 2 separate documents. So, and this doesn't have to be anything fancy, tradie, and whatever. This is truly a journal. Sit down at your computer and journal out your thoughts. Write out your thoughts. What theology did you see present? What did you like? What did you did not like? How did it speak to you? What did you learn from it? Did it move you in any certain way? This is to the purpose of this assignment is to get at your heart. It really is. And so, as a teacher, I'm a huge believer in not just targeting your head, but targeting your heart as well. And so, with that said, this does both because it is primary sources, primary text from this Puritan era. So it's going to engage your mind, but it's also aimed at your heart as well and your devotion, and hopefully increasing your love for the Lord. So for those who had me for Church History 1, this is similar. This is the same idea, same concept as with the ancient Christian devotional that we walked through then. And so this is for the Valley of Vision. And so same kind of concept there. And then your discussion participation. So each week, share your thoughts and ask questions related to the reading and the lecture. So each week, I'll post a discussion question. Be sure to respond to that. That's how you'll get your participation grade there. And that's also very important to respond to because that's how we'll be tracking attendance. So if you don't respond to that, then I'll assume you'll be absent for the week. So make sure you always post on the discussion board. And then lastly, we have our sacraments report. So you're to present a report on how Martin Luther, Ulrich Zwingli, and John Calvin viewed the sacraments of the Lord's Supper and baptism. So in that, you want to be sure to compare and contrast them with one another and provide a summary evaluation of what you believe is the most valid. So this report should be 5 pages in length. So to do this report, to do this assignment, what you're going to do is you're going to look at Martin Luther, Zwingli, and John Calvin, and you're going to say, Martin Luther believed this about the Lord's Supper and baptism. Zwingli believed this about the Lord's Supper and baptism. John Calvin believed this about the Lord's Supper and baptism. So after you say, hey, this is what each person believed, then you want to be sure you compare and you contrast them with one another. You could say that Calvin and Luther were similar in this, unlike Zwingli, who thought this. And so be sure to compare, contrast, and provide a summary evaluation. After considering all these ideas from these theologians, I believe this is most valid because, and then explain that. So in total, it should be about 5 pages in length. It's not a long, it may seem long, but it's not a hard assignment. It's a little more than a page per person. So you should be able to easily accomplish this, especially since it's not due towards the end of the term. So that's it for the sacraments report. So the course evaluation. So your exams are 50% of your grade, 25 midterm, 25 for your final. Your biographical sketches are 20% of your grade, journal 10%, discussion 10%, and the sacraments 10%. You'll see the grading lettering there. All assignments are due by August 24th. You already see that assignments not received within 1 week of the due date will receive a 0. That is true. If something happens and I allow an exception, just note that everything must be due by August 24th or you will receive a 0. And so dropping down to the last page, you see our course schedule there. So for this week, be sure you read chapters 2 and 3 of Gonzalez. And then for week 2, you need to make sure you read chapters 4 through 6. And note that the journal entry for section 1 and 2 is due next Monday. Okay, your assignments are always due at the first day of the week, while the discussion post is due the last day of the week. And then you see the rest of the schedule there. So I'm looking forward to our term together. Feel free to call, text, or email if you have any questions. I'm always available. I'm always here to address any questions, just have further conversations with, just get to know you better. I'm looking forward to our term together. And like I said, if you have any questions, please know that I'm available. I'm always here to help address any concerns that you have. Looking forward to our term together. Hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.